The night I discovered my husband was trying to steal my father's house, I was hiding under my father's kitchen table while he sat only feet away. Then I watched him pour something into my father's coffee, and I realized I had never truly known the man I married. My name is Claire Bennett. For 12 years, I believed Nolan Mercer was a loving husband and a caring son-in-law. He visited my father, Walter, regularly, helped around his house, and slowly earned his trust. What I did not know was that Nolan was studying Dad's finances, property, and daily routine. Nolan's dealership was secretly drowning in debt because of gambling. A dangerous lender named Victor Kane wanted repayment, and Nolan saw my father's house as the perfect solution. He first tried convincing Dad to transfer part of the property to us. I rejected the idea because his financial explanation made no sense. So Nolan changed his strategy. He began bringing Dad paperwork and quietly taking money from his retirement account. He also lied to me about needing money for his dealership. Then I discovered that money I had been sending my mother-in-law was secretly going to Nolan. After that, I found out he had used $30,000 from our savings to help. Another woman opened a nail salon I stopped trusting. His words and started following the money. Then I discovered his dealership had been frozen because of massive unpaid debt. I drove straight to Dad's house. The moment Dad opened the door, he pulled me inside and whispered, "Get under the kitchen table. Do not make a sound." Minutes later, Nolan arrived. From beneath the table, I watched him sit beside Dad and pretend everything was normal. Dad acted confused and forgetful, exactly as Nolan expected. Then Nolan pulled a bottle from his pocket and poured something into Dad's coffee. I nearly screamed. Dad avoided the cup and asked for water instead. Believing his plan was working, Nolan started talking. He admitted the dealership was failing, confessed his gambling debt, and explained that Victor wanted property as collateral. Then Dad asked him why he had married me. Nolan finally revealed the truth. He had married me because it gave him access to my family, our money, and eventually my father's house. Then he said, "Claire was never the plan." My entire world went silent. Suddenly, the front door opened. Dad's retired police officer friend, Frank Doyle, walked in and removed a hidden recording device from the old kitchen radio. Nolan froze. Everything had been recorded. The drugged coffee was still on the counter. The financial documents had been copied. Years of Nolan's suspicious visits had been documented. He had walked straight into a trap. I crawled out from underneath the table. Nolan stared at me and tried to explain. I asked him one question. "You were never going to tell me the truth, were you?" He said nothing. He grabbed his coat and ran, but the evidence remained. The investigation began immediately. Bank records, property documents, financial transfers, and the recording exposed his entire scheme. The other woman also agreed to testify after discovering Nolan had deceived her about the money. In court, his lawyer tried to challenge the recording, but the judge allowed it. When Nolan's own voice played through the courtroom, everyone heard his confession. He had planned to take my father's house. He had manipulated me for years. He had used my money to support his secret life. The court protected my father's property, rejected Nolan's fraudulent claims, and ordered him to pay the legal costs while the criminal investigation continued. Afterward, I called Dad. "It is over," I told him. He simply said, "Come home." I made coffee. We sat at the same kitchen table where his entire plan had collapsed. Asked Dad how he had known. He told me he had suspected Nolan for a long time and had pretended to be confused, so Nolan would expose himself. Then Dad explained why he had hidden me under the table. If I had simply told you what he was doing, you might have defended him. But if you heard him confess yourself, you would never doubt your instincts again. He was right. For 12 years, Nolan had made me question myself. That night, he gave me my confidence back. The table is still in Dad's kitchen. Sometimes, I look at it and remember the woman who crawled underneath it, terrified. Then I remember the woman who crawled back out. She was no longer Nolan's wife, she was Claire Bennett, and I finally learned that when the numbers do not add up, you should never change them to protect someone you love. You find the truth, because sometimes the person sitting closest to you is the one secretly planning your downfall.